now might sound familiar to you if you had a seat by one of the speakers on the boat today. This is a score that we created to accompany your ride from Manhattan here to Snug Harbor. My brother and I are musicians and music producers. We've been doing this since we were kids. In recent years, we've gotten more interested in this idea of how music kind of intersects with technology and the different ways that music can be expanded, from interactive concerts to sound installations. But most recently, we've been really interested in this idea of location-aware music. Give you a bit of background. Hays and I were living in New York when the artists Christo and Jean-Claude did their temporary installation, The Gates, in Central Park. Hundreds of these brightly colored sculptures decorated the park in Manhattan for a few weeks, and it was a really amazing experience for us because, unlike work that's exhibited inside of a gallery on the blank walls of a museum, this was different. This was work that was really interacting and responding to the space. Really, it was a celebration of Frederick Olmsted's incredible design. And we wanted to know if it was possible to engineer that kind of an experience with sound, with music. On Memorial Day in 2009, we released The National Mall as an album. But this was not a normal album, in that this is an album that was released exclusively as an app. That uses the device's built-in GPS functionality to sonically map the park in downtown Washington, D.C. Hundreds of musical passages are spread throughout the park so that as the listener traverses the landscape, a musical score is unfolding around them. Any direction they go works. So think of this as a musical choose-your-own-adventure. So let me give you a quick example of how something like this works. Let's take something like the Washington Monument. So as you make your way up towards the ground surrounding the monument, you're hearing the sound of instruments kind of tuning and warming up. And as you keep walking, you hear the sound of a single mellotron spelling out a very simple melody. And if you keep walking, sweeping violins keep going, and a choir jumps in. And as you finally reach the top, you're hearing the sound of drums, fireworks, all sorts of musical craziness, as if all of these sounds were radiating out from this giant obelisk that punctuates the center of the park. You might appear to walk in the opposite direction. This entire sequence happens in reverse. And were you to exit the park completely, the music would actually fade to silence, and the play button on your phone would disappear. We sometimes get requests by music writers to review this album, wanting a CD copy. And this has been the hardest thing to explain, is that this is not an album that we could send. I mean, it's normally a typical request to review an album, right? But this is not that kind of an album. This is not an album, this is not an app to complement or to promote the release of a traditional album. Rather, the app is the work itself. And the architecture of the landscape is intrinsic to the listening experience. So we were really honored to have the Washington Post list this app in their top 10 albums of the year. And then about 6 months later, we did one for Central Park here in New York. Then we went on to do one for South by Southwest, and currently we're doing a number of different ones all over, but what we're really focused on is doing one that will eventually map the entirety of Highway 1 in California. Now there's just 2 of us, so it might take a little while. But it was great to have this experience, to be with you guys today, and to offer a little bit of a taste of what we do on this boat ride over here. So thank you for having us.